In this episode, I chatted with Amanda Deaton. Amanda founded CanDo Enterprises here in Television several years ago. We discussed the importance of inclusive employment, some misconceptions that employers might have around hiring people with disabilities, and the importance of social enterprise in the disability space. We hope that you enjoy. Amanda, thank you for joining us today. You're one of the founders of CanDo Enterprises, a social enterprise that trains and employs people with vision impairment and other disabilities. Would you like to tell me a little bit about how CanDo got started?
Okay, yeah, it's a bit of a long, complicated story, so I'll try and make it short and a bit interesting. I've worked in television for the last 20 years, and about 7 years ago, we started looking at the people who were coming through our adult day service and just doing a little bit of research around where they were going when they left the service. So the vast majority of them were not able to access employment or further education. And within the day service as well, we found it really difficult. It was more and more difficult to find work placements even for people. People were quite reluctant to take people on in terms of like insurance in case they fell. They wanted to have staff with them all the time. And then when they did take them on, they really weren't getting a lot from the work experience. It was nearly a bit tokenistic and no fault of the employers. I think just people weren't really able to see the capabilities and the abilities, I suppose, of the students. So we decided to do something ourselves, started looking around Europe and seeing what other visual impairment charities and organisations were doing. And we saw some really good, exciting things. And we said, right, we're going to try and implement some work integration social enterprise within the day service to see how it went.
And the skills that you said were being picked up on but weren't being applied anywhere, what type of skills is it that you hone in on?
Probably about three main things that we're working on. So we're working on like the practical skills. So throughout all of the enterprises, you can, pick up manufacturing skills, computer skills, all those kind of workplace kind of basic practical skills. The second one would be workplace etiquette. So understanding about clocking in and out, your correct workplace attire, breaks, all the kind of things that are attached to work that sometimes we all take for granted that we know. Even around tax and pay slips and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I suppose, would be appropriate social skills, interacting with your fellow colleagues, conversation skills, maybe interacting with the public. Again, like stuff that we maybe take for granted who get to go into work, maybe straight after college.
Yeah.
That you've just learned along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that for a lot of people, these are skills that they would naturally pick up in their first job. It's something that you learn in the community. Nobody teaches you to sit down and how to go through your taxes or what to read on your pay slip or how it is that you interact with people. It's usually the case that you're given the opportunity to learn these by yourself. Why is it, do you think, that employers have a misunderstanding of how people with disabilities can work or the supports that they need?
That is a really complicated question. Look, it goes back to an awful lot of historical policy and, occurrences that have happened, not just in Ireland, maybe around the world as well, but particularly in Ireland, I suppose, in terms of institutionalisation, congregated settings, and how people viewed people with disabilities as less than or less than capable, and really focusing on kind of that deficit model of, what people can't do instead of actually seeing, okay, well, this person might be able to do that very well, but they can do lots of other things as well and focusing on those skills. So it's a complicated one and maybe you can't just apply it to all people with disabilities or all disabilities as well.
No, absolutely, because people with disabilities are so different even within the group, so you can't have a generalization. But yeah, at the same time, I do imagine there is a sense as well of segregation that happens throughout people's lives, because before a person with a disability or any person gets to a workplace, you have gone through education as a young person and then again as a child, but usually people with disabilities are not in mainstream education. I think sometimes that can contribute to a sense of kind of distance between people who are within the disability space and people who are outside of it.
Yeah.
So at CanDo, you make natural soap and cosmetics. Tell me, why is it that you got into this area in particular?
So yeah, I suppose that's one kind of arm of the enterprises. Again, it's a very television thing. A staff member had gone to Bloom and saw some handmade soap and cosmetics, particularly soap. And he came back with the idea of using it as an enterprise, an enterprise activity where you could kind of learn transferable skills by making soap. And yeah, it was great. The management at the time said, yeah, give it a go. And we took it from there, started off making some, just 20 bars of soap in a kitchen. And it just, I suppose, exploded. We just kind of landed it at the right time, I suppose. And the people that work in the soap and skincare business, I suppose they're quite innovative, and they're always trying to, look at new products, look at new markets.
And as you said, the products have done quite well. What is it that you think the public find interesting or different about our products compared to products that are already on the market?
I suppose our story is our superpower. They're all 100% natural, and they're made here in Drumcondra, which is lovely. There's no air miles attached to them.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I suppose I would say something like, you're buying something really good. That's really, really important, because we don't want to be asking people to buy stuff because they feel sorry for us. That's perpetrating that concept of disability. We want people to buy our products because they're really good products, but also because of the story behind them, because they are creating employment, they're creating opportunities and creating a better quality of life for people. So it's the story, I suppose, alongside with the good quality natural product.
I can also see as well, though, I think these days there's a lot of consumerism where people have instant access to any type of product. So there is an unlimited amount or type or quality of product that you can choose from. So there is something really unique about being able to buy a product that has passed through hands in your area. Like, they are really truly handmade by people who you might see, walking down the street, or who live in your neighborhood. And there's something really special about that.
Yeah, and actually, even for the people making the products, it's really important to be able to, I suppose, start something and see it right through to the end. So whether that's like, making the bar soap from scratch, cutting it, beveling it, boxing it, and then being able to go to a market or go to interact with a customer and say, I made that.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It really is a big deal. What I like about it as well is that these products can form a link between people who are working in an area like ours in social enterprise, based out of what is a day centre for people with disabilities, and they might have interactions with people who might not know anything about disabilities at all, because there's a lot of variety in society, and not everybody would have an experience with every type of person who's in their, in their vicinity. So I like the idea that the products can form a link between two groups of people who might otherwise never encounter each other. Yeah. There's something really genuinely special about it. Yeah. There's a connection, a human connection through an object. In a sense, then, it's not that it doesn't matter what the product is, because people will buy the product because they like the idea and they come back for the quality. But it's a nice connection to have between the two, irrespective of what that connection is.
And what I love sometimes about is when somebody, like, let's say you're selling something and they go, oh, do you know, my granddad was blind, or my cousin has visual impairment, and it's that, there's something really special about that, I think.
Yeah, there is. My favourite one was at a market. I had a lady come up to me and she told me that they had a Moses basket in their family for 3 generations that came from here specifically. Wow. Like, they knew that it came from here. That's so cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's so special. Oh yeah. So on that, the enterprises here, they were a recent development, but before that there was a history of enterprise in Drumcondra.
There was, like when this was, I suppose, the blind asylum, or the school for blind boys.
Different times.
Yeah, very different times. There was always a history of enterprise where our current it was where the swimming pool used to be. It was where they used to put the reeds in for weaving. So they did a lot of basket weaving here. And I suppose the community would have bought their products. And it's lovely to hear that they still had them in their family, like, to have something that would withstand,
the time.
3 generations. Yeah. It's really special.
It is special. It is special. And I suppose at the same time, it shows a need to stay with the times too, because, the way that baskets and mats and everything that was woven would have been popular products in the past. They're not these days, because there are so many different types of products on the market, and people just can move over time in terms of their preference and tastes.
Yes.
So I think that soap and cosmetics is kind of like a renewal of an old concept, but keeping with the times and keeping things interesting, which is important generally in the disability space.
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be a perception that disability centres can be behind the times.
Yeah.
There's a sense of things being old and traditional and closed doors. Mm-hmm. That's not the approach that we have here.
No, we are very much open. We love people to come in and see people making. Our future plans, I suppose, is that we're moving down to a new, like keep calling it our artisan courtyard.
It is.
Our renovated stables, where we will have like our open shop and workshops, so people can come in, they can see how things are made, and we would hope to have like workshops as well for people to come in and maybe learn how to make some soap or learn how to do some weaving. There's loads of possibilities, because it's definitely, that's one aspect we don't ever want to go back to, is the closed doors.
No.
That other ring behind the walls construct.
I think there's a really great opportunity there as well for the staff and the people who have disabilities to be the people who are teaching, who are passing on knowledge, who are upholding tradition, who are, in a sense, carrying the culture of, you know, our locality. And that's a really interesting idea. I don't know if that's something that people outside of the disability area would consider a possibility. There's no reason for it not to be.
Yeah, because actually they're far more knowledgeable and skilled than I am at the moment in terms of making soap and skincare.
Absolutely.
And weaving, you know, to be able to come in and explain to somebody else how to do it, or how they do it, or how they might have adapted it to suit their support needs. Like it's really powerful.
It is. We're working with talented people.
We are.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you.
So lovely to talk to you. Thanks, Sophie.